customer, you get 1 line of unlimited mobile included for 1 year. Additional lines just $30 each. Click, call, or visit a Spectrum store today.
Even the mighty might not see it coming. It's prediabetes, and it captures 1 in 3 adults. But you can escape. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test to know where you stand and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Be your own hero on smartphones everywhere at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Spectrum News Plus. Local stories, connecting communities. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
I'm Chris Welch. Here's your Spectrum News in 90. China increased its retaliatory tariffs on U.S. imports to 125% Friday. The White House says the U.S. has not initiated trade negotiations yet with China. President Trump's 90-day pause on reciprocal tariffs on other nations gives his administration just 3 months to strike up trade deals with dozens of countries.
More than 75 countries have now reached out to the Trump administration, eager to address the trade issues that have exploited America and hurt our workers in the process.
The National Transportation Safety Board is examining the wreckage from that fatal helicopter crash in the Hudson River. The crash killed 6 people, including the pilot and a family of tourists from Spain celebrating a child's birthday. Investigators are looking for several key pieces of the helicopter in the river.
Those include the main rotor, the main transmission, the roof structure, and the tail structure.
The Trump administration missed a deadline to comply with a federal judge's order to lay out steps on how it's working to return a Maryland man mistakenly deported to El Salvador. DOJ lawyers asked for more time to provide information on Kilmar Abrego Garcia's location and status. That's your Spectrum News in 90.
To the Big Deal. I'm Errol Lewis, national political anchor at Spectrum News. We launched this program last year to focus on the future of our country and its people. With a new administration in the White House and a new Congress, we are now exploring the new people and policies in power that are shaping the nation. This week was another roller coaster ride in Washington, D.C. and in the global markets, with President Donald Trump suddenly reversing some of the steepest tariffs on most of America's trading partners and then dramatically ramping up the price of imports from China. That was the big deal this week and the focus of today's program. Here's a look at where things stand as of Friday evening. The tariff on China is now 145%. A 25% tax is still in place on all auto and metal imports, along with a 10% tax on goods from other countries. In response, China has raised its tariff on American goods to 125%. As the cost of trade with China is exploding, specialty grocery stores across the country are feeling the squeeze. Spectrum News reporter Kelly Milan visited one family-owned business in Wisconsin that's having a hard time keeping up with the tariffs.
On the surface, the shelves at New Asian Market in West Dallas look stocked. But for Sheng Shin Yu and his family, what's missing is costing them more than what's there.
We have stopped ordering a lot of some of their product just because the price went crazy high. And in order to make profit, we had to turn up the price even more. But at some point, it's not even worth it to get them anymore.
Like many Asian supermarkets nationwide, this one is grappling with more aggressive tariffs on Chinese imports under the Trump administration, hitting everything from sauces to staples like rice and noodles. Decisions come down to what's affordable to stock and what beloved items they can no longer carry.
I think a couple days ago, there was a customer asking for a curry sauce and this specific brand of it, but we can't get them anymore just because the price went crazy high.
Those price spikes are rippling down to customers, many of whom Sheng says travel miles to find the ingredients they use and know best. The hardest hit, Sheng says, are older generation customers who rely on this store for products products from home they've used their whole lives.
It's a hard switch.
And while shoppers may not always notice exactly what's missing from the shelf, this family business feels uncertainty of every shipment and every rising cost. Kelly Myland, Spectrum News.
Joining me now are two of our best political analysts. Alex Cohen is a political anchor for Spectrum News Plus based in Southern California. And Curtis Jackson is a political anchor for Spectrum News 1 in Columbus, Ohio. And Alex, nearly half of the cargo that goes through the Port of Los Angeles and 64% of the exports and imports at the Port of Long Beach, it all comes from China. How are they dealing with that out your way?
They are deeply concerned about this, Errol. It could mean a significant drop in the cargo that comes through our ports here, and that could really cost plenty of jobs. I think what's most concerning, because I've talked to the head of the ports here plenty of times, is we've seen these tariffs go back and forth and things moving, multiple times in the course of the day. Planning at the port takes weeks and months, and you can't just turn the ships that you're seeing there. They don't turn on the dime. The way that the cargo moves doesn't turn on a dime at all. They plan months and months in advance. So this could really spell a lot of trouble for them in the weeks and months to come.
Now, in addition to cargo, are you seeing the effect of tariffs on lumber imports from Canada? We get a lot of lumber from there, and I know Southern California needs a lot of wood as you continue to rebuild after those wildfires.
Yep, that's right. We get a lot of our lumber from Canada. Certainly, we're going to need a lot of it as the rebuilding process starts. That's going to cost more. And the other situation from Canada, Errol, these tariffs, visitor regulations have meant a lot of Canadians who spend their winter vacations down here are not going to be coming here. And that's a real problem for tourism in this state as well.
Okay, so now, Curtis, this is hitting the Midwest, of course, as well. This week, Microsoft announced that it is now slowing or pausing construction of a new data center in central Ohio. Is that because of all the economic uncertainty? This was supposed to be, what, $1 billion investment, right?
Yeah, that is certainly one of the factors, the uncertainty around the economy. Also, tariffs could be an issue. And there's also the issue of energy infrastructure, which is something that the General Assembly has been working on during this particular session here. No one is saying for sure, but the towns that are involved here, their mayors were notified about Microsoft's decision at the end of last month, which, of course, was just before the first round of tariffs took effect. So you can sort of connect some dots there. I think, though, in microcosm, what we're seeing here in Ohio is part of this whole trade debate that doesn't really get talked about. And that's the impact on the service industry, financial services, data, hospitality. These are all vulnerabilities for the U.S. As many people know, the largest number of jobs are not in manufacturing now. They're in the service sector. So we're seeing some potential vulnerability there if there's some uncertainty around planned developments like what we're seeing with Microsoft, or is there some potential down the road here for retaliatory tariffs by the EU in particular to target the service sector?
Okay, so now, Alex, the Trump administration is claiming that these tariffs have brought a lot of countries to the negotiating table. Here's Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent earlier this week.
As we go through the queue and settle with these countries who are going to bring us their best offers, we will end up in a place of great certainty over the next 90 days on tariffs.
So you always put on a smiling face. You have to if you're sitting at a cabinet meeting with the cameras rolling. But how are Republican lawmakers reacting to the president's sort of flip-flop on tariffs this week?
Well, Errol, there's been a wide array of reactions. There have been some on the Hill who've been very supportive of this and echo those comments that we heard saying this is the art of the deal at its finest. This is what Donald Trump does best. And that said, there have also been some Republicans expressing concern that some tariffs are okay. Too much tariffs can really be hurtful. And many of them concerned about the way that so much of this news has been coming out. The fact that the president made this post on Truth Social social telling folks to buy, and they didn't hear that information first. They got it at the same time as the rest of us. Even the image there that you see of that cabinet meeting, all the folks who were there, those were not, members of Congress there in that room. And I think they must be questioning right now, even the Republican ones, what power, if any, do we leverage with this particular administration? And although they definitely want to support the president, they also have their constituents to answer to. And the real effects of these tariffs have yet to be seen, and it could really impact many of our communities.
Curtis, I want to get your take on some of the other big news this week. There was a major ruling from the Supreme Court which unanimously instructed the Trump administration to bring home a Maryland man who was mistakenly seized and sent to a prison in El Salvador. Are we likely to see the White House back down from some of these aggressive tactics against immigrants, do you think?
I don't think so. And the reason for that is if you look at the latest polling averages, the president is underwater now when it comes to the economy and his handling of it. In fact, the only thing lower than his overall net disapproval rating is how Americans are viewing his handling of the economy. His strength lies in his handling of immigration. So you can expect, because there have been some victories, if you really at least want to look at it in terms of the formalities of how these cases got filed, and the Supreme Court saying, okay, it's not an issue of whether or not we're going to decide on the constitutionality of these issues right now, so much as it is an administrative victory for the Trump administration. That all being said, his strength right now is his handling of immigration, and you can expect perhaps for the White House to double down. Okay. Thank you very much, Curtis. Thank you, Alex. We're going to take a break now, and when we come back, the Trump administration's pressure campaign against universities is expanding. We'll bring you the details next on The Big Deal.
We said we'd never break the 3-second rule. Never do that. And never become a minivan mom.
Hey, Chris.
As parents, we say never a lot, but never happens. So when you say you'd never leave your child in a hot car, know it can happen. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
Bring it to the party. Bring it to the top. Bring it to the party.
Enjoy, unwind, connect with Spectrum TV On Demand. From the latest hit movies you've been waiting to watch to your favorite comfort shows and more, all available instantly for you to stream. Create the all-around entertainment experience you've always wanted with Spectrum TV On Demand. Browse over 80,000 on-demand titles today.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. 2 milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable. The sad reality is fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kids should know.
You're not gonna get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff.
Mama!
Like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/therightseat.
are back with the big deal. President Trump is escalating pressure on universities across the nation. This week, the White House froze millions of dollars in federal funding to Cornell and Northwestern universities. Last month, $400 million was pulled from Columbia University, with the administration now also calling for federal oversight of that school, according to the Wall Street Journal. The White House has also threatened funding for Brown, Harvard, Princeton, and the University of Pennsylvania, giving broad and sometimes vague reasons for those cuts. That includes the college's handling of anti-Semitism, diversity initiatives, and even rules for transgender athletes. And it doesn't stop there. We have seen several foreign students arrested and detained all around the nation for their participation in pro-Palestinian protests, and hundreds of others had their visas revoked without warning or notice, leaving them vulnerable to deportation. Joining me now to talk about what is going on here is David Bloomfield. He's a professor of educational leadership, law, and policy at Brooklyn College in the City University of New York. He also teaches at CUNY's Graduate Center. Great to see you.
Good to be here.
So in New York, Columbia University gave in to the Trump administration's demands. We see that Harvard is now facing similar demands, which include a ban on face masks and the elimination of Harvard's diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, as well as forced compliance with the Department of Homeland Security, a whole bunch of other demands. There's $9 billion worth of grants and contracts on the line for Harvard. But I actually want to focus on the sort of the morality and the goals of all of this. I mean, the White House says that it's trying to stop anti-Semitism. I know that you are somewhat skeptical of that claim. If that's not what this is about, then what is this all about?
So it's not about anti-Semitism. The lead editorial in the Harvard Crimson this morning says that it's not about anti-Semitism. This is about one-stop shopping for a whole raft of Trump talking points. A lot of bluster. It's not clear how much law is behind this, but it's a way to show his base that elites are under attack, that immigrants are under attack, that DEI, whatever that may be, and it's very vague in the Trump glossary. So just like tick the boxes and universities are guilty before being even legally charged.
The point of leverage tends to be the funding, and this is an eye-opener for me, that big private universities with gigantic endowments are still relying on federal dollars.
Heavily reliant on federal dollars. Let's hope they don't go after Pell Grants. That's a student aid. This is the research base. And again, it's Trump going after research. Look who's the head of Health and Human Services. It's Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's a vaccine denier. So going after research is part of the Trump armory in animating his base.
What's the line of defense that you expect these universities to take?
Well, they haven't really shown a line of defense. The president of Princeton and others have pushed back rhetorically, but Harvard has already changed its Middle Eastern Studies program. They fired personnel. They even went so far as to change programming in its School of Divinity regarding Israel and Palestine. So this is, as they say, compliance in advance, and that doesn't keep the feds last week from calling for more changes to the way Harvard runs itself. And we know the story that's already out that maybe a consent decree will be demanded, court-ordered by the federal government against Columbia.
Let's talk about these international students. They're getting their visas revoked. It's not just happening at Ivy schools. It's also happening at public universities like the one where you teach here in New York. The Department of Homeland Security is not giving notice to students or explaining what led to the visa's termination. And it, of course, is creating a level of anxiety and uncertainty on a lot of campuses. Is that the goal?
Terrorism is the goal. We talk about terrorism on the left. This is terrorism on the right from the federal government. And this is an old playbook. You know, Charlie Chaplin was hounded out of the country for dissent. Emma Goldman was hounded out of the country. So they're just trying to suppress dissent, and this is an easy target because it also ticks that immigrant box. These are legal residents in the United States who I believe have a First Amendment right to speak out. They are not calling for violence. It's not fire in a crowded theater. This is the usual kind of thing that Americans are promised is what the rights of the country are.
Do you expect the White House to succeed here? I mean, I notice, these universities have a lot of prestige. They have a lot of cultural power. Harvard itself is more than a century older than the United States itself. I would think that they could possibly outlast a 48-month presidential administration.
Well, this goes back to something that you were talking about before. This is the corporate academic complex. And there's a lot riding in terms of the members of the Board of Trustees of these campuses. They're intertwined with corporations, with big law firms. And so it's clear to me that the college as the college would push back. It's not clear to me that the leadership of these universities is willing to push back because they have personal stakes in cozying up to the Trump administration.
So, okay, we'll see how all of this works out. Thanks so much, Professor. Great talking with you. We are not done just yet. We're going to talk next about the Democratic Party's strategy against the Trump administration. Stay with The Big Deal.
For the millions of school-aged children across the country, the state of their schools can have a lasting impact on their health and well-being.
The majority of school districts aren't doing comprehensive regular water quality testing.
As CO2 levels rise in a space, cognitive function takes a direct decline.
We visit 2 school districts working to create safe and healthy environments for their students.
Watch Exploring Your Health, Curing Our Classrooms. Available on the Spectrum News app.
Look at this.
Sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows. Everything that's wonderful is what I feel when we're together.
Oh, that was funny.
It's all about connecting with seamless connectivity. And internet customers get one mobile line included for 1 year with Spectrum.
I tell my son, I love you every single day. I love you. Now, my dad has never said that to me. Not because he doesn't love me, but because culturally it wasn't comfortable for him. Now that he's a grandfather, he says, I love you to my son every time he sees him. My advice to all the fathers out there, forget the cultural restrictions. They grow up way too fast for you to waste even a single precious moment.
Food isn't just fuel to live, it's fuel to grow. My family relied on public assistance to help provide meals for us. These meals fueled my involvement in theater and the arts as a child, which fostered my love for acting. The Feeding America network of food banks helps millions of people put food on the table. When people are fed, futures are nourished. Join the movement to end hunger, and together we can open endless possibilities for people to thrive. Visit feedingamerica.org/actnow.
Watching The Big Deal. 2 weeks after strong showings in Wisconsin and in Florida, Democrats are turning the page on 2024 and shifting their focus to next year's midterm elections. This week, the House Democrats' campaign arm unveiled a list of congressional seats that they are hoping to flip next year as they try to reclaim their majority in Congress by capitalizing on growing frustration against the Trump administration. Joining me now to talk about the politics of the party's strategy is Spectrum News political reporter Kevin Fry, who covers Democratic leadership in Washington, D.C. And Kevin, let's start local before we go to the big picture. This month, a deeply Republican stronghold county in the Florida Panhandle surprisingly flipped to blue. The last time that county had backed a Democrat for the House of Representatives was in 1992, more than 30 years ago. And the flip this year could be attributed to the fact that that county is home to thousands of military veterans and their families who are upset with the Trump administration's overhaul of the federal government. Does all of this foreshadow a chance for the Democrats to do better next year?
Well, I'll refrain from doing any forecasting with a crystal ball, but I will say this, that Democrats in the last week or two finally feel like they kind of have a message and that they have the wind at their back. If you've been watching what's going on Capitol Hill, you have seen infighting within the party as they've been struggling to figure out exactly how to take on Trump. Trump is now taking actions that give them all sorts of opportunity, and so you have seen at the same time, Republicans also indicating that they are a little concerned about what they're seeing at those town halls in those election results on the local level, most notably in New York in the last 2 weeks, where you saw the president yank the nomination of Elise Stefanik to be his ambassador to the United Nations. This is a district that Trump won by 20 points in northern rural New York. If they're concerned about losing that seat or at least having a competitive race in that district for a special election in the next few months, that is a sign that Republicans have at least some concerns about what's going on the ground in the midst of the lead up to next year's midterms.
Okay, so now let's talk about the Democratic strategy. The party has to flip 3 seats in order to retake control of the House, and the Democratic Campaign Committee says it plans to put 36 districts in play, including 4 in Pennsylvania, 3 in Arizona, 3 in Florida, 3 in California. Are they being realistic, or are they maybe mistakenly thinking that Trump's slump in popularity automatically will translate into benefits for Democrats?
Well, Republicans are quick to point out that they think they're overshooting a bit here with some of these districts, but at the same time, there are historical trends and also just some interesting changes in the voting blocks that back up Republicans and Democrats that could be illustrative of perhaps their optimism. One, there's just the traditional history that when one party is in power in the White House, it typically is a good midterm year for the opposition party just a few years later. And given that Democrats only need to pick up a handful of seats to win control of the House, that could bode well for them. At the same time, you're also seeing with these coalitions kind of a flip of history here. The Democratic coalition is now becoming much more compromised of shall we say, wealthier, more well-educated voters, and that leads them to be more likely to show up in some of these off-year elections where the presidency is not driving turnout, whereas you're seeing Republicans, especially those that are very much enamored with Trump and maybe not fully enthused with the party writ large, less enthusiastic about turning out. And so perhaps that could bode well for Democrats, but we'll see.
Okay, and then I guess finally, there's a lot of anger within the Democratic Party being directed toward the Senate Minority Leader, Chuck Schumer. The reasons are not all that important, but I did want to get from you, I guess, a general mood. Is there sort of a generational kind of uprising happening among Democrats?
I would say there's 2 ways of looking at this. On Capitol Hill, there is generally a sense from the folks that I've talked to, the lawmakers I've spoken to, of wanting to turn the page, of wanting to move on from this fight from about 2 weeks ago and really focus in on Trump, on what his Republican lawmakers are doing on Capitol Hill to try to, among other things, make cuts to federal spending. At the same time, there is public sentiment, there is frustration that leaders on Capitol Hill are not doing enough, that among the voter base. And so they're kind of trying to reconcile these two. There is definitely seemingly a push for more energy and more enthusiastic pushback, and that's why you've seen so much enthusiasm, arguably, at some of those big rallies that Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Senator Bernie Sanders have had in just the last few weeks.
Okay, great update from the Capitol. Thank you, Kevin, and thank you all for joining us for this episode of The Big Deal. We'll see you next week. Stay tuned to your local Spectrum station.
Friday nights, The Big Deal with Errol Lewis, where Spectrum News' local political journalists break down the most important issues shaping our nation.
Our journey towards improving mental health doesn't always present a clear path. Every Thursday on Your Mental Health, we listen to voices across our communities, discussing the challenges of everyday life and presenting accessible resources to guide us along the path to our well-being, providing hope and empowering choices that light the way to a healthier you.
Your Mental Health with Dr. Nicole Clark, Thursdays on Spectrum News Plus, available on all your favorite devices.
It's game time at the arena, and 20,000 fans are looking for a win. With an ultra-high-speed network and seamless Wi-Fi, fans can get in the door fast and share the game's best moments in real time. And with Spectrum Business committed to keeping them connected 100% of the time, they won't miss a second of the action. A secure, reliable connection from Spectrum Business means the fan experience is a guaranteed win.
Whether it's our stories, the warmth of our laugh, or our family's secret sauce, we all bring something different to the table. So make some space. The power of connection is waiting right outside your comfort zone. Learn how you can help strengthen your community at belongingbeginswithus.org/teamup.
Weather can be beautiful, inconvenient, and at times powerful. And it affects everything we do. At Spectrum News Plus, our weather experts update you with the information and the context you need so you can better plan your day. And we do it every 10 minutes. We're the calm in the storm. Weather on the Ones on Spectrum News Plus, exclusively on Spectrum. And get your weather anytime on the Spectrum News app. Spectrum News Plus. Local stories, connecting communities. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your